That's why I said the main problem is the spiritual leaders of Africa. When I say spiritual leaders, I don't mean Muslim leader, Christian leaders. No. And I speak of leaders who can reconnect the white people, the black people, to their illuminated ancestors. We admire China. When we see China, we say, oh, they have grown so fast and that they are now almost the leading superpower. But at the basis of the development of China is the Cultural Revolution. I let it to people to think about this. Through the Cultural Revolution, and in reality, the Chinese people reconnected themselves with their spiritual reality. That is what is lacking to the African people. As I told you, development is the problem of a minority. And I did ask myself, why is it the only one? My answer is that it is the only one because the mechanism of the divine practice and human practice working together has been broken. It needs to be brought back in order for new Vodun to be developed, the new power to be developed in the divine practice and be brought to the human practice. That mechanism is fundamental also in the crisis we are facing. That's why I said the main problem is the spiritual leaders of Africa. When I say spiritual leaders, I don't mean Muslim leader, Christian leaders. No. And I speak of leaders who can reconnect the white people, the black people, to their illuminated ancestors. I say illuminated scholars who can have the courage to defend that reality is spiritual because the tools are there. The tool is the Kemetic cosmological argument. It is there. It needs only to be used. And later on, we will have politicians who will follow the path, the new path, led by those spiritual leaders and those scholars.
All right. We're looking for such a time because such a time is really important in our history. But of course, when we are looking at the human history, Africans have hope in that a people grow, sometimes they fall captive to other people. But those who have become maybe who have been slaves before, they can become the masters of themselves, and if they like, they can also become masters of others. This is how we have been living for a very long time, in that we have not always been the slave of other people. We have been master of ourselves. But it come to a time that either due to our error or maybe our inability to take the right decision, we are where we are today, and we have become POW, prisoners of war. But this is not the end of the story too. Our time also is coming to change that narrative. where we'll be able to tell our story and able to shape a new future. That too is indisputable, because that is the human history. That is how it has always been. But I do have a curiosity, because now taking the argument a bit towards spirituality, you did say that before you can conquer a people physically, they first need to be conquered spiritually. I don't know if I get that right. That the European, okay. So
mentally, in the invisible world.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to understand now, if the European did operate at the same level with the African in the spiritual realm, to have been able to manipulate our consciousness, so that what is manifested in the physical is a result of what have already taken place in the invisible. I don't know if you can say something more about that.
You see, we admire China. When we see China, we say, oh, they have grown so fast and that they are now almost the leading superpower. But at the basis of the development of China is the Cultural Revolution. One question I asked myself, I was following oneself a video about Freemasonry, and in the video it was said that there are no Freemasons in China. And I wondered, we have been colonized by the same white. Why is that there are no Freemason in China? Why? The answer is in the Cultural Revolution. I let it to people to think about this. Through the Cultural Revolution, and in reality, the Chinese people reconnected themselves with their spiritual reality. That is what is lacking to the African people. As I told you, development is the problem of a minority. In the time of ancient Egypt, that minority was the people who were involved in the divine practice of African spirituality. In the Western world, that minority are called the Zionists and da-da-da. But remember, in ancient Egypt, the greatest Zionists were also greatest priests. Religion and science were going together. That is why I stress that the great need of Africa is a spiritual awakening. That spiritual awakening will not be brought by the politicians. No. We need spiritual leaders who understand the divine practice of African traditional spirituality, because that is the basis on which our civilization was anchored in the time of ancient Egypt. We need this leader to pass the way, to open the path, to open the way for the majority of people to follow. Development is a problem of a minority.
All right. Now, I do have something important there. In that now, okay, you did make mention of China in relation to what is happening also in Africa, because of course, Africa are not the only people that have been colonized. But the way that Africa was colonized, is it like more like the same way that the Chinese were colonized, in the sense of breaking it into different nations, so that when they sort of get hold on their ability to be able to reconstruct themselves, they easily fall back to something? What I am thinking is, okay, Chinua Achebe wrote the book that they call Things Fall Apart. And I think that book is very important for many African people if we have the time to be able to read it and read it very carefully. That at the center of what keeps us together, a knife has been put in it. Because that center cannot hold, everything is falling apart. So I believe that the way that the African was structured following the Berlin Conference of the 1800s, that if Africans have been formed, have been constructed based on their historical background. Say, for example, the people of Yoruba was made a country. The people of Hausa was made a country. And the Igbo people of Nigeria, for example, was made a country. It would be extremely difficult for the European to keep them the way they are today. I am saying that because people don't live on the basis of philosophy. They live on the basis of reality and historical things that they can easily hold something to. In that, if the Yoruba people were to reconstruct themselves, they will easily be able to do it like the Chinese did. In that, the Yoruba, speaking a common language, having a common ancestry, having a common religion, of course, not the same in all the places, but there is a semblance of unity that will easily form among them. And they said it's true of the Hausa people of Nigeria, the Fulani, the Ashanti, and many other people in Africa. But now, we have a country called Nigeria or called Ghana. And these people that I sort of look at it that sometimes we are compared to be a country, but sometimes we're not allowed to grow as a country because we have a lot of infiltration coming into this country where the people really do not evolve as a republic the way that it should be. But these people are not also allowed to disintegrate and become, because the Yoruba people have been living for several hundreds of years before they ever encountered the European.